Today is going to be the most informative sponsored video in the history of YouTube. You guys know what a sponsored video means? It means you get to eat. You get to eat.
You get to eat.
You get to eat. We all get to eat. For those of you who don't know me, I am Viva Frei, a Montreal litigator turned YouTuber, and when I first started I can't pretend that doesn't feel good, but it's inappropriate for a video. When I first made the decision to actually wind down the litigation side of my practice and actually do YouTube on a daily basis, a lot of people were saying, great, good for you, chase your dreams, whereas others said, what are you, crazy? You got a wife and 3 kids, that's totally irresponsible of you.
Go back to law and be a lawyer.
And while they may have been right, I am a bird that cannot be kept in a cage. Okay guys, you gotta go down. I am a dog that can't be kept on a leash. I am a fish that can't be kept on a hook. But the reality is that there are only a handful of ways of making money on YouTube. If your channel is monetized and you are partner verified, you get what is called AdSense revenue, which is basically a certain amount of money for every view based on ads that run on that video. But just to put that into perspective, the general rule when it comes to the AdSense formula is that you get about $1,000 per every million views. That is to say that even if your channel gets 50 million views a year, which is extremely hard to do, you're gonna get paid $50,000. Another way you can make money with your videos on YouTube is through what is called video licensing. I've done a few videos on the subject, I'll link one of them right here. And the way video licensing works is you put up a video on YouTube that an agency finds sellable. They'll DM you or put a comment in the comment section, we work for this video licensing agency, we would like to work with your video and help you sell it, you keep 60% of the revenue, etc, etc. If you give them the licensing rights to the video and they sell that video to third parties like news agencies or video compilations, they will give you 60% of whatever they sell it for. And without getting into too much detail, some video licensing agencies insist on claiming the monetization on YouTube as well, while others don't. But regardless, they're selling that video to third parties. If they sell it, you get 60% of that revenue. But when it comes to making money on YouTube, above and beyond AdSense, sponsored videos is by far the most common. The best example I can think of, if you have never heard of Daniel Thrasher on YouTube, go check him out right now and subscribe. He's absolutely amazing. And he has found a creative and perfectly organic way of incorporating sponsored videos in his original content.
Today's video is brought to you by... Please stick around after the sketch to see another sketch that happens to be paid for.
Sponsored videos can take on any number of forms, from paid reviews to plugs to shoutouts or incorporating the product in the video. But even when it comes to sponsored videos as an additional source of revenue on YouTube, there are difficulties and risks. The obvious difficulty is even getting to a point where sponsors would have an interest in your channel and the exposure it can give to their product. Sponsorships is advertising. Advertising requires eyes. If you don't have eyes on your channel, sponsors are not going to care about your channel. In theory, you can always find a sponsor that's going to be correlative to the exposure or the cost. As far as I'm concerned, the real risk comes at the expense of a sponsor and what it might do to the integrity of your channel. In one of my more recent vlogs, I quoted one Alan Simpson who wisely said, if you have integrity, nothing else matters. If you don't have integrity,
nothing else matters.
And to quote Infinity Wars, which I must admit I have not yet seen, and what did it cost you? Everything. I should mention that I do get approached for sponsorships on a regular basis. However, these are not necessarily products or services that I want to be associated with, and regardless of how much they paid me, the cost could be everything. But this video is in fact my first bona fide sponsored video, and I thought there would be nothing more appropriate to celebrate the sponsored video than to highlight all of the risks that go along with accepting sponsored videos. Sponsorships carry with them certain obvious benefits: monetary, exposure, credibility. But they also carry with them certain serious risks. Legal risks, platform rules risks, ethics risks. The word shill gets thrown around a lot on the internet, and there is a difference between selling out and cashing in. But there is no easier way to lose credibility than to do what people perceive as anything for money. So with that said, let's flesh out these risks one by one and illustrate some examples of where things have gone terribly wrong because people just didn't think about what they were doing when they accepted certain sponsorships. As any YouTube regular knows, the FTC has been in the news a lot lately with their whole COPPA regulations and the impact it's going to have on YouTube come 2020. But it is a somewhat lesser known fact that the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, which governs and prohibits deceptive advertising, also governs online influencers. In November of this year, the FTC released updated advertising disclosures guidance for online influencers, and it reads as follows. The Federal Trade Commission has released a new publication for online influencers that lays out the agency's rules of the road for when and how influencers must disclose sponsorships to their followers. The new guide, Disclosures 101 for Social Media Influencers, provides influencers with tips from FTC staff about what triggers the need for a disclosure and offers examples of both effective and ineffective disclosures. One of the traps that YouTubers and other social media influencers fall into is that they will accept payment from a company to feature a product in their their video, but they will not disclose to their viewers that there was a paid product placement in that video. And under the law, the FTC rightly considers that to be deceptive marketing, because what the influencer is doing is basically abusing of their relationship of trust with their viewers. It's an ad without being disclosed as an ad, and it can lead to problems. One older example of such a scandal involved Warner Brothers and PewDiePie, where PewDiePie was apparently doing a game review but did not properly disclose that it was in fact a paid game review by Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers had given some sort of directive to remain positive about the game and not point out any bugs. And although PewDiePie did disclose that it was a sponsored video in the description of the video, the sentiment was that the disclosure was not apparent enough. And in total fairness, this goes back to 2014, prior to the FTC guidelines being much more specific as relates to YouTube as of 2015. Also, when it comes to this type of deceptive marketing, typically the FTC goes after the company and not the influencer, although they have the right to do both. Another classic example, which actually gave rise to one of the cringiest and meme-worthy apology videos the internet has ever seen, involved Tmartn and some gambling website that he was promoting on his channel. Full disclosure, I never heard of Tmartn before doing the research for this video, but apparently Tmartn was a Counter-Strike YouTuber who was promoting some gambling website in his videos without disclosing that he was the owner and CEO of that gambling site. And his apology video, once he was caught red-handed in the scandal, to quote PewDiePie, "Mwah."
This video sort of became a meme on itself just because it is a goddamn piece of art. This apology video, I mean, Tmartn.
Cooper, I have no idea how I'm gonna record this video, dude. My connection to CSGO Lotto has been a matter of public record since the company was first organized in December of 2015. However, I do feel like I owe you guys an apology. I am sorry to each and every one of you who felt like that was not made clear enough to you.
So the FTC has set out guidelines as to what the influencer has to disclose when doing a sponsored video and how they have to disclose it to avoid any ambiguity. If the influencer got the product for free, they have to mention that. If it is a paid advertisement, they have to mention that. They have to mention it in the description, and they have to mention it throughout the video so that it is clear to the viewer. And if they are the owner of the very company that they are promoting in their videos, they have to disclose that. Tmartn was lucky in that he got off with a slap on the wrist, but his situation illustrates another risk, which brings us to the rules of the platform. When it comes to advertising on YouTube and Google and what products a YouTuber can and cannot sponsor, YouTube and Google have very specific rules as to prohibited practices and prohibited content. Some are admittedly more obvious than others, but it's the subtle ones that can and have gotten YouTubers into trouble. You can't sponsor counterfeit goods. Sure, that's obvious enough, but then there's the prohibition on dangerous products or services, and while some of them might be obvious, others are not quite so obvious. You can't advertise certain recreational drugs on YouTube, even if they're legal in the state in which you're making videos. It's against YouTube and Google's rules to advertise weapons, ammunitions, and explosives. That seems obvious enough, but did you know that that also includes fireworks? So above and beyond what might be legal, it's important to know the platform rules so that you don't sponsor a product that gets your channel a strike or even worse, shut down. And while promoting gambling sites may not be prohibited content on YouTube or Google, it is in fact restricted content on YouTube and Google. And even sponsoring websites which may technically not be gambling websites can get you into trouble if they appear to be a little too close to gambling websites, especially given the demographic of the channel. Just ask Jake Paul and Rice Gum. These two YouTubers were embroiled in scandal when they made sponsored videos for the product called Mystery Box, where you could buy these digital boxes containing items for up to $1,300, and the boxes could contain nothing at all, or they could contain a Rolls Royce.
I'm really hoping, like, my goal here with this video, and you guys are gonna watch this process unfold, like, I'm serious, like, I want to win a Rolls Royce.
That's not gonna happen.
Kinda wanna be this one. I look like this guy. Okay, so basically there's a bunch of boxes on the site, and you can, like, open them virtually. They have all different types of stuff. Hype beast, girls, gamers.
A lot of people felt that Mystery Box was in fact nothing more than a gambling website, and that Jake Paul and Rice Gum, who have a very young demographic of subscribers, were marketing a gambling website to their young and impressionable viewers. And even worse than that, they were accused of promoting actual misrepresentations as relates to the product or service itself, in particular your chances of winning. For right or for wrong, we live in a world now where before you can even retweet something from somebody else, you have to do a social media due diligence on that person to make sure that you're not retweeting something and thereby retweeting all the baggage of that person who initially made the tweet. And while I tend to think that that's a little exaggerated and over the top, when it comes to sponsoring a product, you do have to make sure that the product you're sponsoring is something that you can feel good about sponsoring. And human nature being what it is, people sometimes get blinded or willfully blinded when people wave stacks of cash around their face, as was the case with Jake Paul and Rice Gum with respect to that mystery box. Apparently they were offered something like over $100,000 to do the sponsored video. But even $100,000 is worth nothing when it costs you everything. And before an influencer can accept a sponsorship, assuming that influencer has integrity, they do have to make sure that they are in agreement with the terms of service of the product that they are sponsoring. Now, sometimes the problem is more obvious, as is the case with Mystery Box, but sometimes the problem is slightly less obvious, as was the case with that service called BetterHelp. BetterHelp was another sponsorship scandal that embroiled a ton of YouTubers. BetterHelp purported to be online therapy, and there were a number of big name YouTubers pushing that service. There were a number of YouTubers pushing that service without disclosing to their subscriber base that they were in fact getting a referral fee for every person that they successfully referred to the service. They were pushing the BetterHelp service, BetterHelp purporting to give online therapy, despite the fact that the terms of service of BetterHelp actually confirmed that they don't give online therapy and that it was not an alternative to actual in-face therapy. Worse than that is that after they give you the 7-day trial, even if you cancel, they would apparently charge you for 1 month of service, even if you canceled after the first 7-day trial. Now, as a lawyer, I can tell you that these types of contracts are not easy to read, and the legalese is oftentimes confusing. And without attributing any ill will or bad faith to the YouTubers who sponsored BetterHelp, there were in fact very serious problems in BetterHelp's terms of service that would have caused a YouTuber with integrity and knowledge not to sponsor that product. But this is unfortunately the obligation that comes along with accepting sponsorships. With great power comes great responsibility, and an influencer, prior to accepting a sponsorship, does have to do a due diligence. You have to make sure that those terms of service are not going to screw the very subscriber base that gave you that power in the first place. As a YouTuber who deals with legal-based stuff that oftentimes touches politics, it's actually very difficult for me to even find a sponsor who would be willing to sponsor this type of content because it is deemed to be sort of controversial and dangerous in today's day and age. And it's a tactic that we see all too often when someone says something political that other people might not like. The first thing they do is go after the sponsors. Whoa, do you guys really want to be sponsoring a YouTuber who says X, Y, and Z, or who does a video on impeachment? And then when you have the calls to boycott the sponsors have to make a business decision, which often involves saying, look, we're going to go with someone who's a little less controversial, some content that's a little more neutral. So when you are a content creator who might be deemed to be on the edge, oftentimes it's even difficult to find a sponsor in the first place. There are certain sponsors that I would work with at the drop of a hat without a second thought. For example, products that I use and love myself. GoPro, Len Thompson fishing lures, Nespresso coffee. But loving a product and using it yourself is not necessarily the only criteria. There are other services which might not be of use to me, but I can objectively understand would be of use to others. Which brings us to the sponsored aspect of this video. So when I got an email from someone named Gabriel from a company called SuttonDigitalMarketing.com, I was a little skeptical. I was skeptical because I get a ton of email for products that I would never consider sponsoring, one of which would be vaping products. I don't know why I keep getting so many requests for vaping sponsorships. And so being a responsible YouTuber with integrity, I do my own due diligence before even responding to Gabriel's email. I email back and forth with Gabriel, we schedule a conference call, we get on a call, and I ask all of the questions I think I need to ask in order to make sure that this is a legit company. It's a digital marketing company specialized for lawyers and law firms, which is why Gabriel watches my channel, which is why it's a perfectly organic sponsorship. In Quebec, we have very specific rules as relates to advertising for law firms. Ethically, we're not allowed giving the practice of law what we call a lucrative look, which is why you don't see very many billboards for law firms on the streets as opposed to in America, where I noticed firsthand there are a ton of billboards advertising law firms for personal injury and all the rest. So in the States, it's very important to rank 1, 2, or 3 on Google searches for specific keywords as relates to your practice. And according to Sutton Digital Marketing, they have helped over 150 lawyers and law firms reach the #1 Google ranking for over 800 keywords. Full disclosure, I was not able to independently verify this in my own due diligence. They guarantee a 10% increase in website traffic in the first 16 weeks, failing which they will provide the SEO for free, and from what I'm told, they've never had to do that. Now, I have no basis of comparison because I have never used SEO marketing for myself as a lawyer, but I am told they have very reasonable prices, and in any event, you'll get 50% off your first month if you go to SuttonDigitalMarketing.com/Viva.
SuttonDigitalMarketing.com/Viva.
And that's it. I have just done my first sponsored video, and I don't feel bad about it. I actually feel kind of good. I feel good because it took a certain amount of courage for Sutton Digital Marketing to even decide to sponsor my channel in the first place. And I feel good because I've been able to turn this into a learning lesson to illustrate the risks and perils and the obligations that come along with being an influencer who might want to accept sponsorships. So if you're watching this and you're a lawyer or working at a law firm and could use the service, check it out. If you're not and have absolutely no interest in the product, at the very least you know about the sponsorship scandals that have hit YouTube. And if you don't care about that, at the very least now you know about certain laws that regulate advertising on internet and their impact on influencers. All that to say, if you do like my videos and my content, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, drop a comment in the comment section below. If you want to support the channel, I have multiple designs of merch, but I might need to get a new one going just to keep things fresh. I have a PayPal link in the banner of the channel, and I always put the link in the comment section below. And I would like to thank everyone who's donated via PayPal. I truly appreciate it. And if you want to watch a random epic fishing video, I'm going to link one right here. And now you know your vlog. Peace out. Booyah!